Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Wednesday, February the 6th. We do have a 7-game Wednesday slate. I'm going to work my way through each position, talk about some of the guys that I like on the 7-game slate, give my 5 plays for DraftKings and 5 plays for Yahoo, 5 players that I like specifically for each site. Before we do get started, though, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, so that way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. But starting off at point guard today, we got James Harden, most expensive option at this position. He is $12,600 in a road matchup with the Kings. And I do really like this matchup a lot for Harden, but now that Chris Paul is healthy, and with just some of the other studs we have on the slate, I don't really see James Harden being a priority for me, especially at 12-6, even if he goes out and gets you 70, 75 fantasy points. Lately, with how these slates have gone down, that really hasn't been good enough. If there's a lot of 7, 8K guys that go for 50, 55, 60 even, then Harden's really not going to be necessary. If the mid-range plays don't do good and then a lot of value hits and Harden does really well, then obviously you're probably going to want Harden. But I think there are good mid-range plays today to where you don't really need to pay up for Harden, and I don't think you really need to pay up for point guard in general. I really like the mid-range at this position. The guy that really stands out to me is actually from the Rockets. I do like Chris Paul quite a bit. It's $7,100 on DraftKings, and over on Yahoo, he's $28. I like him on both sites. We saw last game against the Suns, Chris Paul pretty much was not limited at all. He went out and played 33 minutes, I believe. Chris Paul did play 33 minutes in that game against the Suns and had 39 fantasy points, 18, 5, and 4, with 5 steals, 6 turnovers, but was very good on the defensive end there against the Suns. I would imagine with this not being a back-to-back, I don't think the Rockets play on Thursday either. Chris Paul is probably going to play 34 to 35 minutes. I think we can project him for about that amount. I think the restriction's pretty much gone. I think Chris Paul's fully healthy now. They might still rest him on back-to-backs or something, but it looks like he's fully healthy and ready to play his full minutes. And at 7,100, getting 35 possible minutes out of Chris Paul, especially in a matchup with the Kings, I think it's just too cheap of a price tag. I really like him here. He probably goes overlooked today, but I think he's definitely a guy we want to try and get into our lineups. So like me some Chris Paul at this position. In the mid-range, going a little bit cheaper, looking for plays that really stand out to me. Monte Morris at 6,100, I don't mind if Jamal Murray's out. He's definitely not a priority for me now that his price tag is really up there, or really starting to get up there. But in a matchup with the Brooklyn, he's still a guy that you can go to. But I do want to talk about some value here. So right now we do have news that obviously we know Derek White's not going to play for the Spurs, but LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan are both going to rest for today's game against the Warriors on Wednesday. Bryn Forbes I expect to be a pretty good value play here at 4,300. I did pull up the numbers before I started recording, looking at the usage rate, how these guys do with Aldridge, DeRozan, and White off the court. And Bryn Forbes' usage rate, I believe, was in the low 20s, or it might have been the high teens. I think it was like 19-20%, but he averages about 0.97 fantasy points per minute. When you take those guys off the court, you'd expect Forbes probably plays 32 to 33 minutes if this game is competitive. Easily projects for high 20s, low 30s in fantasy points, which definitely puts him in a good spot for value at 4,300. Easily should be able to get 6x value. Obviously, there's a lot of concern here that this game blows out. It's being played in Golden State. I believe the spread opened up at 11, and now with DeRozan and Aldridge out, you would imagine it probably gets up to like 14 or 15, maybe even in 16. So the Warriors are going to be heavy favorites. There is a pretty good chance this game blows out, but Bryn Forbes might even get blowout run. I'm not sure. I don't think he would, but I really don't like to project blowouts. I think if Forbes plays his full minutes, he's probably going to be a pretty good value. We're going to talk about Rudy Gay when we get to small forward. Obviously, if the game blows out, Rudy Gay is not going to be a good play, but his numbers are pretty insane when you take DeRozan and Aldridge off the court. And if he plays his full minutes, Rudy Gay will probably be one of the best plays on the slate. We'll get there, though, when we get to small forward. But at point guard, I do really like Bryn Forbes. I think you can also go to Patty Mills as well. But I think Forbes is a bit safer of an option, and it's probably safer minutes as well. But let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard and look at this position. So at this position, I don't really love any of the top options. If I had to pick one guy here to pay it for, it would probably be Drew Holiday against the Bulls especially. We do know that Anthony Davis unlikely to play. Peyton's still out. Etuan Moore's still out. I believe Julius Randle is questionable. So if Randle comes back, it's a little bit of a hit for Drew Holiday. Even if Randle plays, I don't mind paying up for Drew Holiday, but he's not a priority for me on this slate. Shooting guard, in my opinion, is probably where we want to try and find some value. I did want to go back to Yahoo. I forgot to plug in Bryn Forbes. I do like him on Yahoo as well. He's minimum price at shooting guard. Does stand out to me as a good value play here. But back to shooting guard on DK. The guys that stand out to me in this mid-range, don't really see a ton here. I think we do probably want to play some value here with the guys from the Spurs. We can go to as cheap plays. Patty Mills you can play here. Bryn Forbes you could play here. Those are kind of the guys I'm looking at. With Gary Harris out for this game, you could definitely go to Malik Beasley at $5,700, but his price tag has started to creep up a bit to where I don't really think he's a necessary must-play on this slate. So let's go ahead and move on to small forward. So I mentioned Rudy Gay. I'm definitely going to talk a lot about him when we get there, but we'll start off at the top before we work our way down. So Giannis is at the top here. He's 11,400 in a matchup with the Wizards. I like this matchup a lot for Giannis. He should not have any troubles here in this matchup with the Wizards, but Jokic is in a matchup with Brooklyn, and I much rather prefer that spot. Jokic is also $800 cheaper than Giannis. So right now, Jokic is the guy that I'm trying to pay up for on this slate. That's the only reason I'm not going to be playing a ton of Giannis today, but if value does open up, I think Giannis would probably be the next guy that I would pay up for. If I could fit in Jokic and Giannis, I'd probably try and do that, but Giannis is not a priority for me. The mid-range is very strong today. Rudy Gay is the guy that I really want to talk about here. He's $5,900 on DraftKings. On Yahoo, he's at power forward, and he's $23. With Aldridge, DeRozan, and Derek White off the floor this year, I believe, if I can remember the numbers, Rudy Gay has like a 30 or 31% usage rate, and he averages over a fantasy point and a half per minute, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. So if you project this game to stay close, which obviously is unlikely, but if it does stay close, and we get 30, 32 minutes out of Rudy Gay, he should probably put up 40, 45 fantasy points here. He really stands out to me at $5,900. He's hard to avoid on this slate. I think the only way that Rudy Gay fails here is if this game blows out and Rudy Gay only plays like 20 minutes. But if the game stays close, or if Rudy Gay just gets enough minutes to where if he gets 25, 26, 27 minutes, that's probably good enough with how well he plays with those guys off the court. So, love Rudy Gay today. Let's hope the game stays close. He plays full minutes. If he does, should be one of the best plays on the slate at $5,900. But now other small forward plays. A lot of the guys in that price range are probably going to be low owned because I feel like Rudy Gay is going to be popular today. So you'll get guys like Satoransky, Ariza, Kelly Oubre, Porter. These guys are probably going to come in somewhat low owned today because I feel like Rudy Gay is going to garner a lot of ownership. So if you want to make pivots, you could go to some of the guys in that price range. But if we're looking for value here, I don't really see a ton of value that stands out to me at this position. I do want to talk about the Spurs and how there could be some value from that team with Gay and DeRozan out, or with Aldridge and DeRozan out, So with those two guys out, I imagine Davis Bertans sees plenty of minutes. I imagine Bellinelli gets some run as well. Both of those guys are small forward eligible, so Bertans and Bellinelli, I think you can definitely consider for value. Bertans, he started the last game with Derek White out. Obviously, he's probably going to start here. It's going to be interesting to see who starts for DeRozan, who starts for Aldridge. I think they're going to start probably Bryn Forbes. If I had to guess their starting lineup, it's probably like Forbes. Gay, we know, will start. Bertans is going to start. It'll be interesting to see if they start Gasol or Jakob Poeltl. Probably start Gasol, so Gasol will probably start. And then we'll probably see either Patty Mills start with Bryn Forbes, or we'll see Bellinelli start at the 2 or something. So obviously whoever starts for the Spurs is probably going to be interesting value plays because all these guys are pretty cheap. Mills is cheap, Bertans, Bellinelli, Poeltl is cheap. If Gasol starts, I really don't have interest in him. The minutes just haven't been there for Paul Gasol. I would much rather play Poeltl, even if he's coming off the bench. He would be the guy that I would go to. So back to small forward, though, Bellinelli and Bertans are both value plays you could consider here with DeRozan and Aldridge out. But let's go ahead and move on to power forward now. So this position, obviously I like Giannis here, who you could pay it for. AD is going to be healthy, but he's unlikely to play. It looks like the Pelicans are going to be holding him out, so can't go to AD. Kevin Durant, I really don't have a ton of interest in today. Don't see myself going there. Kenneth Faried on DraftKings, I think you can go to at $7K. On Yahoo, though, where he's at center and he's $26, I really like him a lot over here. It's a great matchup for him against the Kings. He's priced around some guys who I feel like are going to be maybe more popular than him. Like Jahlil Okafor is only $1 more. DeMarcus Cousins is $1 less. Hopefully people play Cousins, play Okafor over Faried, because I really like Faried in that price range. Expect He gets some ownership today, but probably not enough here for this matchup with the Kings. Kings have struggled all year against big men. We know the Kings play at one of the fastest paces in the league. Love Kenneth Faried on Yahoo. On DraftKings, where you can play him at power forward and center. I think he's also in play as well, but we are going to talk about some other guys that we could potentially consider to where we don't have to jam in Kenneth Faried at this position. But looking for value, I want to talk about some value here. Mention the Spurs value. You got those guys that you could play at this position. I think Bertans is power forward eligible. He is. You have him at 4,100. Mason Plumlee, if Paul Gasol, or not Paul Gasol, why did I say Paul Gasol? Mason Plumlee, if Paul Millsap is out, is probably one of the best values at 4,400. We don't know the Paul Millsap status right now as I'm recording this video, so that's something we're going to have to wait and see on. But Plumlee started last game for Paul Millsap and played 33 minutes, put up 40 DraftKings points. If Paul Millsap's out today, I expect Plumlee probably plays 32, 33 minutes and probably projects for 30, 32 DraftKings points again. So he's going to be one of the best values on the slate. Definitely keep Mason Plumlee in mind if Millsap sits. But not knowing the status of Paul Millsap, I think there's a really good option for 100 less in Maxi Kleber. I think Maxi Kleber is a pretty good play today. Now, if Paul Millsap is out, I would definitely play Plumlee over Kleber for just 100 more. But Kleber's still a guy I think we can go to at 4,300. He did start the last game against Cleveland, and he started that game against Detroit without DeAndre Jordan and Kristaps Porzingis not playing for the Mavericks right now. It looks like Kleber's going to be the starting center pretty much rest of season, so he's probably going to get about 30 minutes on a nightly basis. I do like this matchup for him with the Hornets. I think he is a good value today at 4,300. On Yahoo, he's cheap as well if you want to play him over here. He's $12 at power forward. You could definitely go there. But like I said, Mason Plumlee, if Paul Millsap is out, is only $1 more on Yahoo. I would definitely play Plumlee over Kleber if Millsap sits. So keep that in mind. Make sure we're watching that Millsap news as the day goes on Wednesday. But I still do like Kleber regardless as a value play. Should get the run, especially with DJ no longer on the team. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to center now. So I mentioned Jokic at the beginning. I love Jokic today. He's 10-6 on DraftKings. He's expensive on Yahoo as well, but he's worth the price. He's $49 on Yahoo. This is such a good matchup for Nikola Jokic. We've seen bigs this year against the Nets just have a ton of success. Jokic had a lot of success against them earlier this year, went for 37 and 21 with 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal, 72 DraftKings points when he faced the Nets earlier this year. Jokic is just playing out of his mind lately. He had a bad game against Detroit. He burned a lot of people. I know he was in foul trouble part of that game. The game blew out as well. I would expect a bounce-back performance from Nikola Jokic. I hope people are going to shy away from him because he's had 2 somewhat rough games lately. This is a great spot for Jokic. Should easily get 55 to 60 DraftKings points. I would be very surprised if he scores less than that today. So Jokic, my favorite stone on the slate, and maybe my favorite play overall on the slate. Going to have him in a lot of lineups today. But looking at other centers we could go to, I mentioned Kenneth Faried. I like him quite a bit. If Julius Randle plays, I think you can go to him at 7,700. If Julius Randle is out, I don't mind paying 7,300 for Jahlil Okafor. The guy's been worth that price tag, and it is a great matchup for him against the Bulls. But I think if Randle plays, I'd probably avoid Okafor today with how his price has really started to get up there. Value-wise, though, there really isn't any value that I love at center besides the guys from the Spurs if you want to take a shot on them. You can play Plumlee here if Millsap's out. You can play Kleber here if you want to play him here. But I did mention Pirtle with Aldridge out. If Pirtle starts or even comes off the bench at 3,200, he's in play for value for me. I expect he probably plays at least 20 minutes here. Probably sees even more than that. I don't expect Paul Gasol to go out there and play like 30 minutes. Gasol really hasn't gotten any run this year. Even in the games that Gasol has started, has played like, even in those games, he played like 10, 15 minutes. Like, the minutes just aren't there for Paul Gasol right now. And in a game that expects to blow out, I doubt Gasol gets a ton of runs. So, Jakob Poeltl at 3,200, probably one of the better values at center if you do want to go cheap at this position. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for center, and I think that's it for the video. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. And if you do have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or leave any comments down below in the comment section. I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight on this 7-game slate. We'll see you in the next video.